Next up, for the first time in probably like a year, we're going to be talking about the MLB on this podcast because they're changing something. They're changing a rule, which is always fun because of how baseball works. It's a lot of people are usually very opinionated whenever they try and change something. And this spring training, they're testing out a challenge system. I don't know whether they're talking about bringing it to the regular season this year, knowing how they kind of like to test things. Probably not. But regardless, this spring training, we have been seeing them testing out a bit of a challenge system where batters are able to challenge the decisions made by the umpires. And a certain legendary pitcher named Max Scherzer is not too happy about it. Basically, the quote, I'm going to see if I can find a larger quote, unless this was the full thing. Might have been the full thing. He basically just said, "We're humans. Can we just be judged by humans?" Which is kind of just the argument made by most people who don't like whenever challenges are added to most things. Is it kind of takes that kind of aspect out of it. Because half the fun is the fact that you can get those fluky calls. Some players hate it. Some people love it. I think it just depends on which side of the fence you're kind of on. Caleb, what do you think on the whole thing? Because, I mean, it is a bit of a... any sort of change like this is going to be controversial.
Yeah, it feels a little bit like old man yelling at cloud to me. Just because it's like, I don't know, it's just such a definitive improvement of the game to where you're having to make arguments, but like, oh, but the bad calls are good actually, and it's just like when you're doing that, it feels like you're already losing the argument.
People have been complaining about those calls for so long that it feels insane that people are now mad that they fixed it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's like, are you just mad because you don't have anything to hate anymore?
Yeah,
or it's like,
exactly.
Maybe that's it. And it's like, I don't know. It just provides so much more clarity and, like, fairness to the game. Where, I don't know, maybe it's just a baseball thing, because in the NFL, it's like, I'm so down for extra video reviews and, like, even, like, expanding what you can challenge and all that. Like, I'm upset that they got rid of challenging pass interference as poorly laid out as it was. It's just like stuff like that where you can take a second to actually get something right. I don't know why you wouldn't do that. And especially in this instance, like, because I went and watched a little bit of like what the system actually looks like, and ran through kind of like what happens when a pitch gets challenged. It's so fast. Like, immediately it's just like, okay, you do the signal or whatever to challenge. It's like tapping your head or whatever, and then the umpire calls it over to like the Hawkeye system or whatever, and then they display it, and then boom, it's done. It's like max a 20-second process.
Enough, I feel like we talked about this at some point on the podcast, and that was what we said they should do. I almost feel like that was exactly what we said they should do, just because it makes sense. Yeah. Like it's not a hard thing to do. Like it really isn't. It's not like hockey where challenges take a while. Like I've called games in the last little bit here where a team will challenge a goaltender interference, and then I have to sit there twiddling my thumbs talking about the weather for 10 minutes. Nobody wants that. Nobody wants that. But like if it takes like 10 seconds, I don't really know what the downside is, right? Like, I understand it for a sport like hockey if they wanted to try and reduce the pauses and try and keep things quick. Like, I do understand that, but I don't know. It when it's that quick and it seems like that easy of a solution, I don't know what the problem is other than just it's an old man yelling at the clouds. I love that analogy. Like, that's really funny to me. But it's crappy because it's an insult to a legend, but he's almost asking for it in a way there, right? Like, whenever you're getting mad at something that is clearly fixing something. Like, can pitchers challenge stuff? I'm assuming they can. Yeah. Like,
and he has. Like, he tried it out, and I think he lost, and maybe he's just bitter about it. I don't know.
Yeah. Like, I think it's just an improvement for everybody involved. The only people, and it's the same thing, I do remember, oddly, it's funny, I can't remember what I had for breakfast this morning, but strangely I can remember what we talked about on the segment, when we talked about them bringing in robo-umps. But, and now I just immediately forgot about it. Come on, Simon, remember what you were going to fucking say. Come on. Brain work. Come on. Oh, God. Oh. Never mind. I immediately forgot. Remember that whole thing about me forgetting what I had for breakfast? Maybe I'm the old man yelling at the clouds. God damn. Anyways, fuck. I don't know. Regardless, I think that I think the entire thing is really silly, just because of the fact that it's an easy fix. I don't know why you wouldn't do it. I don't know why you'd get mad about it. It helps everybody.
Yeah, I think some of the intricacies that we talked about when we talked about this earlier, like those are the only things where it's like you can kind of make the case where it's like now the strike zone will be very rigid and unchanging, whereas like it's a little bit more fluid before, and it's like what was the where it's like you can kind of like sell a pitch as if you're a catcher in terms of where you move your glove and you catch it.
That's what I was gonna say. That's what I was gonna say. That completely fell out of my mind, but yeah, that's absolutely what I was gonna say, because I remember we had that conversation when we talked about this, whenever it came around, like God knows when that was. But yeah, like that's a huge part of that position as a catcher. Like constantly framing is talked about in that type of way. It's a big part of the catcher's job. And when that's taken out of their job, it kind of devalues at least a part of being a good defensive catcher. It doesn't make it as important, which kind of sucks, because it is an art in a way. It's kind of a cool thing that isn't going to be as important anymore, because if a batter feels like they were screwed over by a catcher moving the glove and beating an ump, I mean, it's going to be
It's like, what's the balance, though? Like, what do you lose? Because if you're thinking, okay, we're losing this, and it's this small aspect of the sport that we're losing in terms of this skill that catchers have, but we're gaining, kind of getting over all of these bad calls, getting over, like, you know, where you can get mad at somebody like Angel Hernandez for just sucking at his job and, like, ruining an important game or a playoff game or something. It's that kind of thing where it's like, what's the balance of it? Sure, we're losing that, and maybe that's something to mourn in terms of that skill that's not useful anymore for catchers. But in the grand scheme of things, it feels more minute in comparison to the amount of calls that are going to be corrected that maybe could have decided games or series or
World Series. Like, it's...
Yeah.
These are... it's funny, because obviously all the baseball fans that want their sport to stay the exact same way aren't going to like it. Just like any rule change. Just like with the pitch clock and all that. Like, it's... But at the end of the day, it has felt like the pitch clock has been an overall positive change. Like, and stuff. And I think that's kind of the lesson that I think the MLB needs to take from it, is whenever you change something, there's going to be backlash. It'd be the same in any sport. It'd be the same in the NHL. But you got to do it. You got to take the risk. You can't be too scared, because it's going to change the sport for the better. And 5 to 10 years down the road, once players are very well used to it, I think everybody's going to like it a lot more.
Yeah, it'll just become like normal. And I think the other thing is too, that I think gets lost in this, is it being a challenge system just makes so much sense and is such a happy medium, because the other argument that I think is a good one is the whole like, you're putting umpires out of a job. Like, I think that argument made more sense to me in terms of, like, you're not going to have, if you fully commit to just robo umps, then you're not going to have somebody even behind the plate calling balls and strikes. But with the challenge system, it's like, I don't know if you only get a certain amount in the game or whatever, or what the number is, but even if it's just like when you feel like it's a bad pitch, it's still so much better to have that balance, I think. Because then, even then, maybe that still allows for some flexibility in selling pitches, to where if you can sell it to the point where they don't want to challenge it, then you still are able to use that. Who knows, right? Like, I think it's such a good happy medium that it's kind of frustrating that people aren't adapting to it more. Because I think the other thing to point out is that this is just a change they're doing in spring training now. I don't think they're rolling it out to the regular season yet.
No. I mean, I do think that they should at some point. That would be my opinion. I think a lot of people are going to hate it just to hate it, but every other sport has it at this point. It's just a thing now. Like, hell, I mean, like I said, I've called games where they have it in junior at this point, right? Like, it's in hockey, right? It's just a thing that everybody has, but for some reason the MLB is deciding to just not. They prefer to just have their. I get wanting to keep umps in a job. I get that. I actually do think it adds a little bit more drama that there is some human error there, but I don't know.
But no, I don't know. I think it adds even more drama. If imagine you're in the 9th inning of the World Series and it's a contentious strike call,
Yeah.
and then people are pissy, people are mad about it, and then you get the like helmet tap or whatever, and then it's the dramatic reveal of the like Hawkeye cam to see is it like who's right, you know? I think that adds even more drama, in my opinion.
Yeah. It'd be a crappy way for a series to end, I will say that. Ending, like, imagine if, like, the World Series is decided on a challenge.
A bad call? But it was so much worse if it was just a shitty call that decided it.
That's true, too.
I'd much rather have the corrective ability.
That's fair.
That's fair. I don't know. With that, it's, like, maybe a little bit of, like, a letdown in terms of, like, it's not as climactic as it could have been. But at least it's not the, like, deflating feeling to know, like, oh, man, the team that won this shouldn't have won.
What they got to do if it's the World Series, and it's, like, deciding, is they got to, like, tap the thing, and then they don't actually show it on the camera. They just have, like, a dude run down with, like, a red envelope, like, open it and whisper in the ear of the ump, and then the ump has to, like, walk up to, like, a podium and announce it to the whole world.
It's like what they do in the NHL, where the ref comes out to center ice.
There
and then
you
if you're
go.
West Valley, you make the big deal of it.
Yeah.
And
that's That's what they got to do. Instead of it only taking 5 seconds, it has to take 10 minutes. That's the only way to fix it. Then everybody would love it. That's the lesson from this. People hate it because it's too efficient and too good.
Yeah. No, you got to build up that drama.
We need the drama
for the World Series to come out and announce it.
Yeah,
it's like, we have. That's right. Who's out of here?
Oh God. We need the drama of four grown men huddled around an iPad for 10 minutes. That's the real content. That's what we need in baseball. I think
the TVs play the replay like 17 times in a row.
Yeah. It's just like they don't even show the pitcher throwing it. It's just the ball moving across the screen over and over unconclusively. Don't even show the box. Oh, I'd love that.
Well, that is another thing to maybe kind of like wrap it up a little bit. The one interesting thing that I've read about that's kind of my only negative point against this challenge system, at least from a fan perspective, is some people are saying that if this system gets implemented in the regular season, the strike box that we see on TV will have to go away. Because what the MLB is worried about happening is teams having a stream of the game in the dugout to see if it's a strike or not, and then telling them if they can challenge. So people are saying, like, oh, is this going to be the death of the on-TV strike zone? And I think that would be a big loss. I don't know if it's, again, is it worth, like, what's the trade-off there? I don't know. That feels like a bigger loss to me.
Would you be able to police teams to make sure they don't have streams? Like, is that a possible
I think that's probably what you'd have to do.
It's what
you just have somebody in the dugout.
Then what happens? Does the team just have like a trainer in the back with like
MLB sanctions
iPad out, and then like whenever something happens, they just have like him like call the dugout or whatever? Like it's like what I don't know. I guess that is the hard part, right? I don't know.
So you get the banging on trash cans to let them know whether it's a ball or strike. I don't know.
Nobody's tried that before.
Yeah, just something that comes to mind.
Yeah.
Just off the top of my head. Just at the top of my head. Just
a good idea. That's a good idea. You know, I really do think that a World Series could be won doing something like that. That's a clever idea right there. Figuring out whether something is a strike or a ball, or hell, even if it's a fastball, that'd be one heck of a way to do it. Just a garbage can? Yeah. Not a garbage can. Yeah, no, it's just despite what you would think.
No, that's great. It's a great idea. Yeah. No, I think teams should start doing that all the time.
They should. I think it should be legal for everyone. I think the entire stream should just be like a bunch of garbage cans banging. I think that would be terrific.
They're like it just, you can't tell which signal's yours because the other team's banging on their trash can too.
Maybe that becomes the strategy. Is it just becomes so many people sitting in the stands banging trash cans? That'd be so sick. Like, oh. Yeah,
oh my god. Well, you're welcome for the baseball segment. Come back next year.